One Piece bros, Pokemon gals, Gundam gents. Today I'm going to be talking about what sets I still think have a good risk to reward from OP01 all the way to OP13, excluding 14 because it's not out yet. Before I get into that, I'm going to touch up on one or two comments I had in the last video. Thank you for commenting, whether, it was good or bad. I would have a couple comments. By a couple, I mean like literally one or two. One guy just said, you don't know what you're fucking talking about. Left it at that. Then the other guy said something along the lines of, OP14 will never drop to $100 a booster box. You don't know what you're talking about. Calm down, buddy. Okay? In the video I was saying, with the past market a couple months ago, OP14 probably would drop down to $100 to $120 a box. It would probably drop below MSRP a couple months ago with that market going on. Now the new market, you're probably right. It will not drop to $100 a booster box. I hope it does. In the video I said I hope it does probably. But it most likely will not. But I just wanted to clarify that. The market from a couple months ago is nothing like the market now. Now with that being said, let's get into OP01 through 13. What I'm taking a look at, what I think still has a good risk to reward ratio on it. And I'll say this. I could just, screen record my monitor. That's just not how I do things. It's not, I don't want to make a video ever doing that. And if I do, it must be for a special occasion. I'd rather just sit in front of the camera, talk about it, and then pop up like TCG Player. I know it's the same thing, but it's just how I like to do things. These are all going based off of TCG Player's lowest price listing that you can buy right now. For OP01, we have a blue bottom at $5,050. I don't see myself buying the blue bottom if I had a bunch of money. Like if I had over like 40, 50 grand sitting in my bank account doing nothing, I might pick up one or two, but I don't. So I'm not going to be buying it. I would rather buy the white bottom. OP01 white bottom is going for $2,000 now on TCG Player, and I think that'll hold. Maybe it'll come down a little bit to $1,800. Maybe it'll just keep going. It'll keep running. I recently picked up mine. Oh, the squats. Leg day at the gym. I'm weak. I picked up mine here. My OP01 white bottom. Show that for the fans at home. For $1,300. And I picked this up like 3 days ago. The lowest listings on TCG Player were $1,450 at the time, $1,400. And if lowest listing right now is $2,000, you can go out on Facebook Marketplace, on OfferUp, and you can haggle them down a couple $100, especially if you're paying all cash. Now, if you're doing a trade, it's a little different, whether that's in person or at a card show, not on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp. But if you're paying all cash, remember, you can go find these deals. The worst case scenario, someone just says no and say, like, they'll say, hey, I got it at this price. I can't sell it to you for that low. Then you move on to the next person. And you do this as many times as it takes till you get a good, fair deal that you like. And if you're like, hey, $2,000, screw it, I'll just pay it on TCG Player, then there you go. I think the white bottom at $2,000, I liked it more at $1,300 because I was looking at all the listings and I saw how few there were. There were like 13, 14 listings on TCG Player, and I went to eBay, same thing, but eBay was selling higher. So I went out and I bought a white bottom for $1,300 cash. When I saw that there were so few listings of white bottoms for OP01 at $1,400, there were like three listings for $1,400, and then it jumped straight up to $1,800, and then it goes to $2,000. Yesterday, last night when I checked, OP01, so yesterday was January 5th. So the prices that I pulled now are here today, January 6th. Yesterday, they were at $1,450 for a white bottom. Someone saw that, had the money, came in, swooped them up. They went straight up to $2,000. So they could come back down, hopefully. But if they don't, then the market's just going to keep running with it. So when you're talking about OP01, though, you're talking about the first ever booster box. Still $2,000. If you have the money and you don't want to take the risk of it coming back down, you think, oh, maybe it's just going to go up, and I don't want to risk waiting and not getting in at a price that I like. Go to Facebook Marketplace, go to OfferUp, go to some card shows. You'll get a couple $100 off. Some people might say no, and that's okay. They got to sell it for what they think is right. Then you move on. But you'll find a couple $100 off, especially if you're paying all cash. If you're doing a trade, it might be a little more difficult. I think the white bottom is something to consider. I mean, I literally just bought one. FYI, if I tell you, hey, I think this is a fair price for this, 90% chance I'm buying it. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm not just saying, oh, right here, if we look at TCG, there's this price, there's a lot of value here. No, I'm actually buying the boxes. I'm not just telling you to go buy them. This is all for me, personal. This is not investing advice. Classic. OP02 is currently sitting at $394 a box. A couple days ago, the main listing, $394 a box. Excuse me. $394 a box. There was 56 listings 2 or 3 days ago. Fast forward today, there's now only 26 listings. I picked up some OP02 boxes. I think $400 for an OP02 box is pretty fair. Now, a lot of people, especially, One Piece fans, will go, well, is it first print or is it the second print? And for OP02, this is my personal opinion, and a lot of people would disagree with it. This is just how I feel about it. I don't care if it's the first print or the second print run. OP01, I kind of see it. I'd rather buy the white bottoms. I think they're more fairly priced. I still think blue bottoms are going to go up, but I'd rather buy white bottoms. They're a little cheaper. It's still OP01. But for OP02, I wish I had them right now, but no, I don't. I wish I had one to show you. But the ones I got, I believe, are the second print run. And they have a barcode on the side of the box. It'll be right here. Right next to the 121 types in total. It won't be like a barcode, but it'll be some numbers. And that's how you can tell if it's the first print run or the second print run. The first print run also, I think, is more of a reddish color, and the second one is more brown, or vice versa. Either way, I don't care. I don't care if it's first print or second print. It's OP02. $400 a box for OP02, I think, is pretty fair. I picked up a couple at $394 after tax, obviously. It came out just a little over $400, but what can you do? OP03 is an interesting one. Right now, it's $850 on TCG Player. And it's currently going for about the same price on eBay. I think on eBay, you can get it maybe a little cheaper. Like, you can send some offers and maybe you can get it for around $670 to $750, which is a big difference. It's a $100 difference. But I'm not picking up any OP03 at, you know, 600 plus a box. I don't like the risk reward in the current market of One Piece. Because remember, I mean, this can go one of two ways. It can keep climbing, and then finally we'll find a steady pace that everyone is gonna sit at. Or, you know, a lot of people talk about just a bubble bursting and it just crashes down, and it's gonna bring down the... I don't think it's gonna bring down the prices insane if it does. But, you know, it'd bring them down, what, 20, 35%? So that's kind of, you know, what I'm thinking about when I'm purchasing some of the more expensive boxes. And I do think $400 for a box of One Piece is expensive, even though it is OP02, which I take into consideration. Moving on to OP04, $575. I mean, this box... I can't think of why it's $575 besides it's OP04 and the market is really strong for One Piece right now. I'm pretty sure it's a doo-doo set. I have it up there. I like it because I think it's a cool yellow box, you know, Luffy on it. OP04 is currently going for $575. I'm not picking any up at that price point. I got mine a while back. OP05. Skyrocket. It's just been bazooking. That's currently $1,000 a box right now. I believe 2 videos ago I mentioned OP05 and I said this is $1,000 box. It is now $1,000 box. Not to say I told you so, but the market's, you know, it's strong. OP06, I'm not picking up OP05 at $1,000 a box right now, by the way. OP06, $300 a box. Zoro manga. It has some pretty cool SPs. It's an older set, for sure. I think if I already have a bunch of OP06, but if I didn't, I would be going out right now and bulk buying OP06, and I would try to get a deal around $240 a box. I think that's very possible. Some of you might comment, you're smoking crack if you think you can get that box for $240, $260, market price is $300. Look, if you don't know how to go to Facebook, go to OfferUp, talk to someone and say, hey, I got cash, you want to make a deal? If you don't know how to do that, then I don't know what to tell you. But I do that with every single set that I invest in or buy. If I'm buying to rip it, I'm trying to get the best deal possible, as should you. I don't know if you can see it on camera. These boxes right here. The GameStop blow up Charizard UPCs. I think they're awesome. They were pre-releasing for what, over 200? I don't know. I wasn't paying too much attention to it because I wasn't going to entertain that price. And then it fell hard down to 170. Now it's currently like 145. I picked up a lot of these boxes for under $110 a box. I drove somewhere. I was just going to buy one originally. Talked to the guy. He was very nice. I guess he had like a Target bot, and he had a bunch of them, like over 30 or 40. And when he told me that, I was like, okay, if I just pick up a bunch, what can we do per box? And I was able to get him below 110 a box, which I'm really happy for at that price. Moral of the story: go negotiate. Go say, hey, $300 box, I'll give you $260 cash. You want to do it or not? That's what I would do currently for OP06. I like OP06. I think it's a cool set. I know it's not like one of the high tier sets, but I think the Zoro manga is sick. I think the box is awesome. It's starting to become an older set for One Piece. OP07, $295. It'll probably surpass 06 with the Boa manga. I don't know. That's a tough call. I think it could go either way. But OP07, this is one of the few boxes I have none of. And I'm thinking about going and, trying to pick up a bunch of boxes. Maybe do the same thing I just suggested with OP06, Go offer $240 to $260 a box, and I'll just buy a bunch of them. So I'm thinking about that. I haven't locked it in for sure yet, but I think OP07 is something to look at. OP08, $160 a box. Now, if I was in this for the long run, I already have a bunch of OP08. It's my favorite set. I know it's dog poop, but the Rayleigh manga is my favorite card because Silver's Rayleigh is my favorite character in One Piece. If I didn't have any 08, same thing. Offer up, Facebook, card stores, whatever. Hey, if I buy a bunch, what can you do for me here? Can we get it down to 140 a box, 130 a box? Whether it's 1, whether it's 10, whether it's 20, try to negotiate for those. I think that's one to definitely be looking for is OP08. It's right now mid-tier on the print list, so it's right in the middle. A couple sets, it's going to be, it's getting older. It really is. It is slowly getting older, obviously. OP09, $678 for the lowest listing on TCG Player. I think any One Piece fan, if you have any knowledge, OP09 has multiple mangas in it. It has wanted posters, I want to say. Yes, it does. It's a great set. It's one of the best sets. It's probably top 5. Saw this coming from a mile away. Got, OP09 up there when I got it for below 160. It came out, it was sitting at $160 for a while. And that's why everyone who was getting mad when I was saying OP14, should be 130 or less. It should be. I don't think it's going to be anymore with the market and how good it is, but OP09 you could get easily for $160 for a while. Then for a while you could get it for $200 and $220. And this is one of the best sets. And OP14 doesn't hold a fucking candle to OP09. And OP14 is probably going to be pre-released at a higher price than OP09 was. But, that was a couple months ago. I'm not picking up any OP09 at this price. I already have mine. I'm locked in, holding for the long run. I'm not giving it any thought. I just I'm not going to give it too much thought because it's very possible prices could drop. It's very possible prices could rise. I don't know. These people are going to tell you, I know what's happening. Everything's going to skyrocket. All these boxes, they're just going to keep booming and going up. And then you ask them, oh, okay, how much have you bought? What'd you buy? Oh, well, I haven't bought. If I knew for a fact every single one of these boxes were going to keep booming and going to the sky, you know what I'd do? I'd go down to Chase Bank and I'd take out a $70,000 fucking loan and I would just buy it all up. If I knew it was just everything was gonna fucking go up. They don't know. They don't know either. Don't let them trick you. They can make a fairly educated guess and say, hey, it's gonna keep running. You know, that's fair. Or, hey, you know, at some point we gotta slow down here. Fair as well. It's not worth the risk for me. So I'm not buying 09. OP10, $171 for a poo-poo set. I didn't pick up any OP10 because I just didn't like the set. And I was buying more Pokemon at that time when it came out anyways. So it's something to think about. If you wanted to pick up a couple cases and try to make some good deals. You know, I remember I could have picked up OP10, I want to say for like $90 a box. And I probably should have, but I was putting my money elsewhere, and that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, you know? OP10, I think, is something to think about. If I'm not making any Pokemon deals, I would probably revisit OP10, but there's a lot of Pokemon deals to be made right now, for sure. OP11, $395 from the get-go on this set. I was adamant that this is a high-tier set. It's underrated. Not a lot of people are going to be aware of it. And I was kind of right. I picked up cases for, you know, $135 a box, $130 a box. MSRP. I never pay MSRP for things. Except for now, with this, you know, going on now, I probably will. I will have to. Especially for OP14. I already have some pre-orders in at $130 a box. Shout out to that one guy who was saying, you're not going to find it anywhere near that price. Well, I did. And you can too. Go to your local card shops for pre-release for One Piece and see if they're taking any pre-orders, and, you know, they should be selling it to you at about $130, $135, and if they're selling it to you for $230 pre-release, tell them to go fuck themselves, because that's ridiculous. OP11, Snake Man manga, one of my favorite arcs in One Piece, Whole Cake Island, the Katakuri fight, masterpiece. I just loved everything about it. I picked up a bunch of it at, you know, $130, $135, and it's going. Not going to pick up any more. I already have it. If I didn't, I don't know. I'd rather pick up something else, in my opinion. If I didn't have any OP11, I'd probably end up picking something else up. I wouldn't even be going after it. I think it's now climbing too high for a newer set. I want you guys to remember, it's $5 a pack. There's 24 packs. What is that, $130 a box? And then you have Pokemon with 36 packs at $5. That's, you know, what, 180? 170? Round there, ballpark. That's where MSRP should lie around. Pokemon has been getting people to buy their boxes at MSRP now. You know, whereas before, we were buying them super low. You could buy them for $100, $120, $90 in some cases for Pokemon booster boxes. And they went in and they figured it out to where people would start having to pay MSRP, and that's a good deal. So that was, you know, kudos on them. One Piece, it looks like they're doing the same thing, but it's still too high. I mean, people were already buying One Piece at $130 a box at MSRP. So One Piece didn't have this problem. Now they just have the problem of, you know, who can really afford this shit? I feel bad for the people who play the game and are big fans and are ripping or trying to rip, it's probably frustrating that, these new sets are coming out and they're just going bonkers and you can't rip, you can't play the game. They're probably just having to, buy singles, which is probably cheaper than just buying a box and ripping it nowadays, which sucks. It takes out the fun of it. The fun part is going to your local card shop and opening it up with your bros, and then you play with the cards you got. But hopefully the card shops are still, most of them are still pre-orders at 130, 135. If that's the case, then they're going to be all right. But let's move on to OP12. This thing shot up quick. It shot up instantly. There was some times, a couple weeks ago, I could have picked this box up for $130. And I chose not to. I was, buying, prismatic or some type of Pokemon or something else. And, I wasn't a big fan of the set. Now it's sitting at $215. Personally, I'm not going to go after any OP12. I missed out on that little gravy train, but that's just how things go. Nothing to cry about. OP13, $490. That's $500 a box, pretty much. Brand new set, one of the best sets. I don't know, when does it stop? Obviously, I'm not picking up. I wouldn't pick up anything, above $300 for OP13. I'm curious to see if they come out with a reprint. They probably won't. Maybe they'll do something like how they did with OP09. There was like a pullback of like 10 to 17% or something. I can't remember. $500 for OP13. That's a lot of money. I got mine for $135 a box pre-order. I wouldn't think about picking up any, just because I think there is risk that people aren't telling you about. I think, when you go online and you see all these One Piece and Pokemon YouTube channels and they're telling you to invest in this and that, and oh man, OP13 could be $1,000 box in like 6 months. It definitely could be. But what about the risk? What if I buy this box for $500 and then things start to change and adjust, and now, I'm down $200, which is unlikely. Not enough people talk about the risk to buying a lot of these products. They just tell you should buy this, you should buy that. And some people do put their money where their mouth is, and they do buy it. And they're telling you, hey, this is a good price, and they're buying it. So that's good. Those are the people you should be watching, most likely. But there's a lot out there who just tell you, oh, this is a good price, buy it here. Yep, this is a good price, buy it there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at that. Oh, yeah, big gains on that, and it's just going to keep flowing. You should buy it now. Maybe you shouldn't buy a lot of the boxes. Maybe you missed out. That's all right. It's okay. You're not going to die. You missed out. Oh, well. Anyways, those are the boxes that I think I'm going to be looking at and buying more of, possibly. That's what I think of OP01 through OP13. When it comes to the EB sets and the PRB sets, maybe I'll make another video on that, but I was just trying to focus on 1 through 13 right now. I'll probably tackle those in another video. Leave a comment. I appreciate, like and subscribe, but leave a comment on your opinion. If you're going to call me an idiot, that's fine. I'd like to know your reasoning so I can understand better. I'd like to educate myself, or maybe think about something that I haven't thought about before. I'm not all-knowing. I don't know everything. That's what I'm doing. That's my plan. That's what I think of those sets. Like, subscribe, comment. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.